Morning, respected panel, OGTC and members of the audience. It's been very interesting listening to the eminent speakers. I represent ILFS. ILFS is an education and skills training company. The topic which I would elaborate today is basically the concurrent theme which we've been discussing for some time today. We'll talk about manpower, we'll talk about workforce, skill development, and how do we best make use of the government policies as well as private initiatives which are available in this domain. Okay, so just a factual slide. These are statistics from NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation. Close to 17.8 crore people, 178 million people, new people would be required between 2012 and 2022 for various industries. As we know, textiles and apparel is one of the biggest recruiters in the Indian industry. It comes at the 4th rank. There would be approximately 1.6 crore people required over the next 10 years. There are a lot of shortages. We listened to the speakers. They talked about machines being there and idling capacities. So in this slide, it makes a lot of sense to have an understanding of what is the government doing to encourage skill initiatives and how can companies in the sector benefit from those schemes, as well as what are the initiatives which private companies like ILFS which have taken, and how can we contribute to the sector further. This is the skills pyramid in the textiles and apparel industry. If you look at it, bottom of the pyramid is always entry-level people. There are people with basic skill levels, people who can be taught, trained in a very short time span, basically a 1 month to 2 month or 3 months training. And then as you go higher up in the complexity of skills, there are supervisory and managerial level people, and then there are highly specialized skilled people. People at the higher levels obviously have had relevant experience and have spent a lot of time also in the industry. But the challenges basically are in the bottom two, wherein the presence of people as well as the adequacy of the skills, or let's say the lack of them, cause a lot of problems. Okay, we'll look at some government initiatives. I'll go slightly faster on these. I'm sure all of us are fairly aware that there is the National Skill Development Mission now, which aims to train 50 crore people over the next 10 years. There are two parts to this. One is the government, which plays its own role. Skill development is integral to any industry. And if you look at the left side of the table, there's the government ministries and the government grant model. The government has set itself an internal target of training 35 crore people, 350 million people, between 2012 and 2022. Can someone tell me what 2022 represents? Why is 2022 important? I mean, it is not like 2020, it is 2022. So, just a random question, but it has a very specific answer. What is 2022? Why is it important? 2022 represents 75 years of India's independence. So, by then, we would have reached a stage wherein, we keep hearing the word demographic dividend. A huge population, a huge chunk of India's population would be in the employable age, which means India would possibly contribute maybe as much or more than China in terms of the target audience which is employable. People between 18 to 30, 35. We'll have probably the maximum chunk in the entire world. So these targets are fairly ambitious. On one part is the government ministries, various ministries. Some indicative ones are given: Ministry of Labour, Employment, Rural Development, various others. We'll see a list further ahead. And then there's the private sector model, which is being initiated and taken forward by National Skill Development Corporation. Our company is also an NSDC partner, and we will contribute in the second part, which is training 150 million people. Okay, so currently there are two strands of skill development which are going. So on the left you see the Ministry of Labour and Employment, as well as which is ably supported by DGET. they have their entire set of frameworks which are being put in place, which includes National Vocational Qualification Framework, Modular Employability Scheme, and various other schemes which form one part. And then there's the NSDC, which comes under Ministry of Finance, and which is setting up sector skills councils, which will contribute to developing standards, national occupational standards, as well as honing, motivating, and encouraging skill development in various sectors. There is also the National Skills Qualification Framework, which has been put in place and which will come in place in some time. So the aim is that in some time all of this would converge and it will come out in a way which will be very productive for the entire ecosystem. These are some of the schemes. I'll not get into this too much, but there are a lot of schemes now. The government does a lot on its part to encourage skill development and to make it easy for most industries to get a regular, intake of people at funding rates which are good, which can be utilized. Some speakers have spoken about it. Okay. Private sector initiatives, I'll focus on what our company does. I'll go through it faster, but ours is a representative company. We are one of the NSDC partners. Basically, in the last few years, ILFS Skills, our skill development company, has trained over 1,20,000 people in textile and apparel. That has been one of the sectors of focus. Beyond this, in engineering and construction, we have our presence. We've trained around 27,000 people there, and services over 1 lakh people. Our company, being an NSDC partner, and even otherwise, we look at employability as a very important strand. Not only employability, whatever number of people we train, we aim to place over 80% of them, 80 to 90% of them. We look at placing them and then ensuring that they have the adequate skill sets to continue to contribute to that industry. Wherein, it is not just getting a job or taking a horse to water, but to ensure that there is a continuity and there's a contribution of that person feels that he or she has the right skill sets to continue in that sector. Brief snapshot of what we have currently. We have 31 skills institutes. These are large skill institutes. We have one in Delhi, in Okhla. We have over 350 skill centers. These are smaller ones. We're present in 498 out of the 500 plus districts, 600 plus districts in India, and 1,000 industry partnerships. Industry partnerships are of various types. This is a photograph of our Delhi school, which is multi-sectoral. Services, manufacturing, engineering, all trades are taken care of. This started at the start of the year, and we've trained close to 500 people as of now. This is one of the institutes which we have in Coimbatore. These are some others in Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, indicative photographs. Okay, so the training, as far as the entry level and the small duration courses are concerned, is the value chain which we follow is this. There is a placement linkage which we look at. We never start our programs without having a confirmed placement linkage. Once a company confirms to us that we have X number of people who it would be willing to absorb over the period of next few months, we start the mobilization and community engagement, after which students are taken through selection tests. There is a training of trainers which happens. The actual training takes place. There is assessment and certification, which usually is with the third party, and then the students and trainees are placed. We do a post-placement tracking of 1 year with every trainee who gets trained with us. I'll rush through this part. These are just the same things which we have spoken of. Training of trainers. In addition to the training, we give certain value-added modules to our trainees. Every trainee is taught on English, basic mobile learning, basic computer literacy, and work readiness, soft skills. The entire institutes and trades which we do are industry simulated, which means the machinery is exactly replicates that of the industry. This is a sample sewing machine operator training lab, which would probably look very much like an actual factory. These are some of our assessment and training partners. In apparel, we work with Methods Workshop. Okay. I've spoken about the various skill development initiatives that the government has. I've also talked about what have we done. I'd like to talk about one more part now, which is the concurrent thread, another private sector initiative which the government is keen that it moves forward in the PPP mode. Before that, I'll talk about a few issues. While short-term training takes care of people, yet it does not build careers. Typically, most industries, including apparel and textiles, has a very high attrition rate. People, especially people who are 12th pass, are aspirational of degrees. While degrees would not probably be given too much weightage by industry, yet people have their own aspirations. Retention of quality manpower is a big challenge in all industries. Management training programs are there, but they are efficient, but usually they are not linked to regular education. So there is a framework which the government is putting in place. It's called National Vocational Educational Qualification Framework. Basically, the AICT has drawn the entire norms. We've signed up with AICT as one of the skill training provider who can deliver on this. In very simple terms, this is merging education and employability skills, which means if there is a 12th pass worker who's part of a company, he or she can join this program and continue to work in his company, continue to train with us as a training provider or with any other training provider, and also get a graduation degree along with that. So what does the NVEQF aim to address? There are a lot of points. I'll talk about the important ones. Basically, in India, as of now, somebody who starts to work does not have an exit and an entry or a re-entry permissible, which means if there is a person who starts working after 10th class or 12th class, to get back into the educational mainstream, he or she would possibly have to quit his job. Whereas if you look at the West, if you look at Germany or Europe or in Australia, a person could get into a company, then take a break, get into some short duration or regular graduation degree, which could be vocational in nature, then get back, do apprenticeship. So there are multiple points of exit and entry. So the NVQF aims to address that lack of flexibility in the Indian system. It also intends to create credibility and create a visibility for this need, which means if there's a person who's not a graduate, that person can look forward to completing his graduation while working. The model works like this, that there are levels from 9th to 12th, there are levels 1 to 4, and from first year to third year, there are levels 5 to 7. So a company could seek to give this benefit or pass on this benefit to some of its worthy or capable employees, which it can identify, which means it can support them in this initiative. Those people would obviously want to stick around for 3 years, grow with the company, and also learn something which is relevant to the job, not just get a graduation, but actually do something or get something which will help or add value to whatever they do. So there's a breakup. The trainee would have to do a certain amount of vocational training and a certain mix of academics. So what is relevant for the purpose of the discussion here is 5 to 7, which means if we have a 12th pass person who joins a company, over the next 3 years, a certain amount of his study would be spent in classroom, a certain amount of his or her study would be spent in training or OJT or classroom. There are basically 5 entities which would have to be brought together. It's like a little jigsaw. It's being worked out. We are one of the companies which are associated with the ICAHT to bring this together. There's a need for an employer who is willing, capable, and far-sighted, who sees the need that this can address attrition, this can help improve productivity levels, this can generate a good workforce few years from now. It will require a university, it will require a college, and it will require a skill knowledge provider, SKP. Okay. So some of the programs or some of the things which can be looked at under this could be these. These are indicative. Obviously, it's not an exhaustive list. Fashion design, fashion technology, apparel manufacturing. So basically, let's say there is an employee. He would have to undergo a basic foundation program. Post that foundation program, between levels 5 to 7, which is 1 year each, that particular employee undergoes this training as well as continues to work productively for the company. the company would have to give a career path to this person, which means there has to be obviously an improvement in his salary levels and maybe his responsibilities with every passing year. The degree part takes care of the basic needs of the employee, while the homegrown manager, the person who rises through the ranks in these 3 years will be far more productive than somebody who comes from outside. And there are various modes of learning: classroom learning, e-learnings, learning with the skilled knowledge provider, as well as on-the-job training. This can all be mapped, and it is fairly flexible. It is something which the government wants to push through because it feels that it will bring a different level of competitiveness to the Indian industry. This is a sample indicative plan. So let's say if there is a 2-hour, the person devotes 2 hours to learning every week, every weekday for 5 days a week, and 5 hours over the weekends. That's 20 hours per week, which over a 1-year period can be 1,000 hours, which is what the scheme envisages. Okay. So basically, the enhanced learning experience as well as better application of the concepts can lead to far more greater improvement in terms of the output. Okay, so I basically covered these 2 aspects versus entry-level skilling, and the second one, which is as of now something which is being put into place, which is the NVEQF. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vivek, for educating.